Well, it all started out as a joke actually, and I had a friend over one Saturday night and she read out this ad and she said, "Coralie, why don't you go for this?" And I said, "Fine." So next thing I knew, I was out having a champagne lunch with this very sophisticated man. And, well, she put an ad in herself and that resulted in a year-long relationship. So I put my first ad in and that was the beginning of writing letters and phoning out people I didn't know. And
I advertised after my marriage broke up back in early '84, and there was one lady who I advertised, I think, about 3 or 4 times before I met Margaret. And one lady answered almost every ad that I put in. And I never got to meet her because as soon as we talked on the phone, she chickened out. So I still don't know exactly what sort of a person she is.
Dinner for Six is all about introducing people to new friends, designed for those that are single again or a little bit sick of the going out to the pubs, bar, nightclubs, a nice easy way of increasing one's circle of friends.
What they would normally do is they may see an advertisement or they may be referred to us. Probably over 50% of our clients come via direct referral, so they know a little bit about us before they come. Then they would speak to us over the phone. We tell our fees over the phone, so we leave no one in any doubt as to the sort of service that we're offering. People then come in for what we call a first interview. Now that's cost and obligation free, and we give our time. We give about 45 minutes of our time in order to explain our services to that person.
A reaction I get often is people say, "What are you all about?" and we ask what they're looking for, obviously, because we need to see if we're on the same wavelength to start with. And we say, well, first of all, we don't see ourselves in the accepted sense of the terms as an introduction agency, because we're not about promising love and marriage and all those special things. Thank God. That's the reaction, oh dear, they're at a rebuild stage and they need some time out to mix and mingle, but they're taking that next step from wherever they've been.
Yes.
And to build from there. Yes.
And I saw an advertisement in the paper for Dinner for Six with a very brief explanation of what it was and a Melbourne phone number. And I thought, that sounds like a nice way of going out and meeting some people. I needed to change my circle of friends. That's what I needed to do. And I rang the Melbourne number just out of sheer curiosity, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later it started up here in Adelaide and I was in the chair.
And you should have heard the remarks from some of my friends when they heard what I was doing. They were aghast, sort of coming from a mainstream industry and starting up an introduction agency.
Yes.
Rods of pin.
Well, my marriage fell apart and I found myself on the loose. I rapidly discovered that I needed to widen my circle of friends. I noticed this ad in the Advertiser. It read well, so I came along and joined. And it did. It certainly widened my circle of friends. I met a lot of lovely people.
The first 2 ads, I got 40 replies, which is a lot of letters to get and a lot of fun. And the last lot, only 15 letters. Only 15 letters for the last lot, but I was asking more specifically for what I wanted, so hopefully I got more quality and not quantity.
Through meeting through contacting people, I've become involved in social events. I've been on to quite a few of those and enjoyed them. It's an interesting diversification for meeting someone just one-on-one to then meeting a group of people who are all members. It's very, very interesting.
Most of the letters were just from ordinary people whose marriages had broken up and they very genuinely wanted to find somebody else.
It's not done by computer. The computer doesn't say, oh, this person's 80% compatible with that person and some of the rubbish that I believe you get elsewhere. It's based on who we feel as people will get on with other people.
It's very much a support role that we play. All we are that catalyst to give people the opportunity to develop their own friendships and relationships and communication skills.
Yes.
We don't want to bash everybody over the head and say do this. We don't want to. we never promise anybody that perfect partner. It's all about saying, yes, we promise you nothing except that we will give you the opportunity to meet quite a lot of people in different environments, different situations. And if you come along, you've got that chance to just relax and enjoy. And at any time, if you've got concerns on your private communications, your private life, whatever's happening, people pop in, come and have a cup of coffee, just want to share a thought, and just a friendly person, and they sort of end up with a hug, and it's so calming for them to have that relax or that support behind them, knowing that we're there.
I think that rather than, scrap the whole idea, what they should do is go and research it. And I'm in favour of people, like for instance, we encourage people to come into us, to read our questionnaires, to look through our contract, to ask us questions. There's nothing here to hide. The money's up front. We tell people straight out. It's not like there's a hidden cost, like, 3 months down the track, you'll need to pay us another this and another that to get extra special service. We tell people what the costs are. So there are guarantees written within the contract. I would advise people to never go anywhere where there isn't a written contract.
But I think that most of the men that write into the classifieds, a lot of them are very lonely. But then there are some who are, to use the classifieds term, genuine guys that just want some companionship.
The columns seem to be a much more effective and a cheaper way of finding anyone than through an introduction agency, who often charge hundreds of dollars.
So here, once you get over that registration fee, which is $130 and we believe to be very reasonable, they're in for as long as they would like to be in and involved with what we do.
There is a upfront cost, a registration fee, which is $450. Now that is paid so that we can then establish a client base for that person, a file base and a client base for that person. It does involve many hours work on our behalf, and we do see that client over that period of time. Then they pay a program fee, which varies according to the amount of time they choose to spend with us, and that could be as little as, say, 3 months for $250, 6 months for $485, or on and on.
Men tend to sort of be a little bit more cynical about something. That's my experience anyway.
We find that a lot of men are reticent.
There is no talk of relationship, romance and that sort of thing. It's basically worked around friendship and increasing one's circle of friends. Naturally, there's romance and that type of thing that comes out of it, but the fact that we remove that from what we're looking at doing with the people takes away that stigma, and it happens on a more comfortable level.
You generally find that business and professional people are quite happy to work with consultants because they do it in all other areas of their life. I mean, they go to an accountant if they need their figures fixed up, they go to a solicitor when they have any legal problems. So I guess they feel more comfortable about coming to a professional consultancy and saying, look, I need some help in meeting the right sort of person.
There could be nothing more complex, or a few things more complex than establishing a relationship, and then if it involves a long-term commitment, all what that means. Well, we would go to a lawyer for a legal issue, we'd go to an accountant about a financial issue, and it really, although it's unusual in a sense, it seems to make so much more sense to
A relationship consultant for a relationship.
And I'm sure that will be the way,
Yes.
increasingly.
Yes.
If they're sitting at home, definitely they should be joining an organisation such as this, definitely. Yes, it's a very easy way of meeting people.
This awful perception of introduction agencies is sitting there. How do you tell your friend that your best friend, you met somebody through an introduction agency? It's that awful old standpoint, and God, they're an escort agency, they're this or that. But it's not. Those days are past. It's very much here, bringing people together.
You can't take it too seriously. You can give yourself a nervous breakdown if you really think you're going to meet the man of your dreams here, but why not? But why not? Because I have met people who have met other people in all kinds of places.
I found I'm not really at the age where I feel confident in meeting people in pubs anymore. I don't particularly like a smoke-filled environment.
Going to nightclubs is probably a lot more enjoyable if you're not going there on the make. I think that if you really are dead set about meeting your person and you go to a nightclub, it can really make you tense because you're trying to perform, you're trying to come across as appealing, people are wearing their masks, they're not being real.
And perhaps that's one problem with the single scene here, that Adelaide isn't a very large place.
There have been about 4 of them that have replied to every letter I've put in over a year. So they must be very desperate, these people.
Some who advertise again and again, and I think there are some who, in the end, probably just get hooked on this tour of meeting people over cups of coffee without ever being able to commit themselves to anyone.
If people say it'll happen, but they don't do anything, it may never happen. I mean, how many people do you know of who've had Prince Charming come up and knock on their door and say, "Hi, I've been looking for you all my life"? I mean, it doesn't happen that way. Usually, you have to be out there making it happen for you. And look, you don't have to do it through an agency. But as I've said, there are a lot of limited areas now for people to go out there and do that, particularly if they're busy.
Well, I've always believed that God helps those who help themselves.
In fact, we once had an ex-boyfriend and an ex-girlfriend get each other's profiles and they got back together again. They actually thought, my goodness, if they think we're suitable, maybe we shouldn't have broken up. And they actually got back together again.
All we're doing is playing the game of society in a more compact level. That happens in society, it happens here as well.
I phoned somebody up recently and just asked very straight out questions like, did he use deodorant? And, did he have regular meal times? All that kind of stuff. And he looked at it as a real interrogation, but he nevertheless did enjoy it. He really did enjoy the interview.
I think that people should take with a pinch of salt the sort of negatives that they hear, do some research for themselves, certainly check the agency out, go in there.
I had some very funny answers, and there was one man here who wrote on Red Paper and he said he called himself Firefox, and I thought that was a very creative writing, and I left a very funny answer on his answering machine. I actually played the piano and sang a song, and he ended up telling me that he had recorded it and was keeping it in a little box. Firefox, when will you be home? Firefox, to answer the phone. I'll catch you later. You sleek, breeze, full mane of brownish wavy hair, moustache and chin beard, fit, healthy, active, clean male. Firefox.
That is great. I love that name.
Firefox, I'm feeling blue. Firefox, I wanna talk to you. This is She-Wolf. I'm calling you. Firefox, when will you be home? Firefox, to answer the phone. I'll catch you later. You sleek breeze, full mane of brownish wavy hair, moustache and chin beard, fit, healthy, active, clean male. Firefox. Oh yeah.
That is great. I love that name. It's so excellent.